Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. Today I want to show you a black powder raid. So I was able to convince 3 other people to join me, and we use nothing but black powder weapons for the entire raid. Now, this idea actually came from a suggestion during a live stream. Someone in chat suggested a black powder raid. My initial thought was that it was a terrible idea, so of course I had to give it a try. So before I show you the raid, let me show you the weapons that I'm using. Unfortunately, I can't show you what the rest of the team was using, but I can at least show you the gear I went in with. So first up, I have the black powder rifle. It is quad with extra VATS hit chance and faster reload speed. Bayonet is on here just because I can put it on there. It doesn't really serve any purpose in the raid. And this is the one, at least my intention was to use this against the boss parts. So against the Guardian, against the Snake, and against the Enclave soldiers. That was at least the plan. And against the shield, this should actually do pretty well because it's got the extra limb damage. And of course, if everyone else is using one also, I figured the shield would come down pretty quickly. So that was the plan here. And then I have a black powder blunderbuss. It is quad VATS hit chance and faster reload speed. And this one I actually have a 4-star on it. That is Electricians. And the way Electricians works, if you haven't ever used it, every time you reload, it basically sends out a shockwave that stuns nearby enemies. And the nice thing about this, it doesn't have a cooldown. So every time you reload, it will trigger that shockwave. And when I crafted this, specifically what I wanted to use it for was defending the drill, because 4 rounds just isn't that much. And sometimes you can get a lot of enemies at once. So when the enemies are kind of, get too bunched up, do a reload, stun them, give me time to pick them off before the drill just takes too much damage. And that way, one person, at least in theory, one person could defend the drill instead of 2 people. Because I think without Electricians, you'd probably want 2 people with black powder weapons, if that's all you're using. You'd want 2 people defending at the same time. And so the plan here was I could defend solo and everyone else could gather and hopefully the drill would survive. And then I have a 2-shot explosive black powder pistol. It has reload speed, although reload speed doesn't matter on this because there is a delay, except if you have quad. So if you have quad on a black powder weapon, it's fine. If you don't have quad on a black powder weapon, there is a delay after reloading. If you have any kind of mechanic that speeds up the reload, it actually just speeds up the animation. It doesn't actually let you shoot any sooner. So that 3rd star doesn't really matter. But the reason I crafted this, there's 2 areas. Number 1, the shield generator when you're fighting the Enclave soldiers, because taking that out is one of those projectile. You want more projectiles. The damage really doesn't matter. It's how many projectiles you have that affects how quickly you take out the shield. And the crystal room, it is the same kind of deal. The more projectiles you have, the quicker the crystals get destroyed. So I'm just trying to get as many projectiles as I can, and that's what this weapon is for, is those 2 areas. So without any further ado, let's get to the raid. So here we are assembled for the group photo before things get started. So I got to give a quick thank you to Lexingo, UK Jeeper, and Pipcat. Without them, this wouldn't have happened. All right, so everyone is ready. So we're going to do a button push here. You can see now, I just wanted to make sure everyone was using black powder weapons. That's what they're doing. The gear is kind of anyone's choice. My armor on this character, I didn't show it. It's Brotherhood Recon. It's not super meaningful here. I mean, the big point was just to try and use black powder weapons because there are ports where, it would be kind of difficult. This section though, I actually did not expect this to be that difficult. I figured while using a weapon that does limb damage, shield would probably come down pretty quick. Pip is the one in power armor, so yeah, he's being hit, which means with Ricochet, that's going to do a lot of damage. My expectation for this going in was that we would probably need to go behind the blast doors 1 time. That would probably be enough. So you can see here, we're actually, we're doing tons of damage. I'm sure I'm not even getting the biggest numbers there, but, at one point I think I was hitting over 10,000 with a critical hit. But there's the blast door, and this is the part where I think, we suffered our first casualty with this one. Someone was just in the wrong spot. They got a little wrong-footed when this started, but you can see the Guardian's health is down to like 25%. So we did okay as far as that goes. And then there's not much left here. I can't tank the damage at all. I am a ghoul character, and glow just kind of evaporates. So, but you can see every hit is doing. Oh, see, and here's this is the habit of reloading. should be shooting all 3 shots, but here we go. We're almost at the a little more hit. Yep, there we go. And the Guardian goes down. So this one actually went pretty smoothly. So here we are in the drill room, and normally I like to defend, or I like to actually run for fuel, but since I had a weapon that I thought was actually pretty well suited for defending, with that black powder blunderbuss. Every time I reload, it will do a, see, there's the shockwave. Now early on, it's not that big of a deal because usually when I'm doing the shockwave, there's maybe one enemy there, maybe none in that case. You know, I'm reloading as frequently as needed. If enemies get too close to the drill, my strategy was just to reload regardless of where I was. And so we're going along. Okay, so far the drill hasn't taken any damage, but it's still pretty early. The enemy attacks haven't ramped up, and because of where I'm standing, the enemies seem to be less aggressive. I don't know. I actually don't defend. It's very rare that I defend. I just don't like doing it. I would rather gather, but I figured since I had the best weapon for the task, it was the best strategy. So we're doing well so far, but we did get our first Jeeper went down, so we had our first casualty. We're still, yeah, at about a quarter. Looks like about a quarter of the fuel. Also, what was helpful with this stage, every time Pip came in, not every time, but most of the time he'd come in, if there was enemies, you know, enemies about, he would usually take a shot or two. So him helping every time he came in did make a difference. But so far, things are holding up pretty well. We got another, we had another casualty. And so at this point, yeah, Lex went down. So at this point, the discussion was, should we just, you know, suicide and start over with a full team? Or should we just keep going? And I'm kind of stubborn with that. I like to finish in one go if we can. Plus, I wanted to see how well the gun would hold up. You know, how well it would actually do at defending the drill. You could see the enemies just kind of stop. He didn't seem to stop so much, but a lot of time, most of the time, they would just stop in their tracks. And so it was good at keeping them alive. And Pip's good at he's good at gathering. So we figured we'd just give it a go and just see how far we could get with this. All right, so we're a little further along here. We've picked up some fuel, and there's some enemies. And so here's a part where I just reload because the enemies are getting too close to the drill. And so I reload, and it puts them in their tracks. And a lot of times, the mole miners themselves will come at me. Generally, those little explodey mole rats won't. They'll usually go for the drill, not always. I had one fall on my head at one point from above. But so far, we're doing okay. I mean, we're a little over halfway. And you can see the drill health is actually miraculously, it's still full. This weapon actually works out really well, at least so far, for defending. But we have another spot. I'm like, okay, I did that was a strategic reload at that point, just to give a shockwave and stop the enemies. And in some cases, it almost seemed to, like the mole rat right there. It's running for the drill and then just kind of loses its mind or something. So, I mean, I don't think that's part of the effect, but it does seem to do that, where there are times when just triggering that, you know, that stun effect would actually be enough to make them go in a different direction or something. I don't know, but it actually worked out tremendously well. So this looks like a spot when you could use any weapon. It wouldn't really matter as long as you know, if you have that stun effect, you could probably use a double barrel just fine. This part was weird. So we had this lull. I mean, maybe it's normal. I don't know. I don't defend enough. But we had this little lull where, like, there were just no enemies spawning at all. Nothing was happening. And all of a sudden, it was like they were regrouping. And then we just got, yeah, a ton of enemies. But so far, I mean, we're at maybe 75% full on fuel. And, yeah, and the drill is still at 100% health. So it's this section, I will say, I thought this would go okay. I'm not going to say I thought this section would be terrible, but I also didn't expect that we just have one runner. I thought there'd be, you know, 3 runners or 2 runners probably. To lose both people so early did definitely up the degree of difficulty as far as defending. But you can see all on the way, every time Pip comes in, he takes a shot if there's some. So he was helping out with defending too every time he came in. But just the length of time that we had to keep the drill going, and we're still able to, I mean, the drill, it's still at 100% health. And we only need 2 more fuel canisters at this point. But that electrician's effect is huge. If you are someone who defends, and if you ever struggle with it, that electrician's effect is huge. At least it was in this case. And if I had something that had even more ammo capacity, like a Tesla with that effect would actually be pretty good. So that's another option. We're down to 1 canister. He's out there, and I'm going, okay, come on. At this point, I'm ready for it to be over. I've spent enough time defending, and there's Pip saying, yep, we got it. And the drill, we got all of the fuel done, and the drill didn't take any damage, which is not something I expected at all. So this went about as well as it could go, minus the casualties we had early on. But yeah, 2 stages down. So for this section, I have the two-shot explosive for the shield generator, and it did okay. I mean, it took most of it down in one hit, or one shot rather. I mean, it's 4 hits, which is why I was using it. And then my plan was to switch to the rifle, and I didn't. I ended up just, you know, I didn't have the right switch on, so I ended up using the same thing I was using to defend the drill. Still does nice damage. I mean, you can see how quickly Bloodhound is going down. Obviously, not just from me. That's, you know, there's 4 people shooting, but with black powder weapons doing so much damage. One thing, it did seem like every time I reloaded, it was stunning the bots as well, which wasn't something I had planned on or something I thought of, but yeah, you can see the bots are stopping in their place. So this is another area where electricians is actually a pretty good option. And I think I got, yeah, I didn't have to restore the generator at this point, at least not the one behind me. I think one of the other ones went down right around here, right around this spot, maybe in a little bit, but you can see, yeah, there we go. So one of the generators went down, not this one. I think Jeep was on that one. All right, now the generator is down again. You can see though, the amount of damage, I mean, their health just disappears. This section, I thought, honestly, this was one I was thinking would take probably a pretty long time, just because the shield generators are, they can be kind of stubborn with slow firing weapons. I've taken other slow firing weapons in here and it's really frustrating. But you can see that actually went really quickly. I was surprised at how quickly this went. But yeah, this went actually really well. So now we are at the crystal stage. This is the one that I thought would be probably the worst, because of destroying the crystals can be a bit of a thing. Now with this weapon, I'm still using the 2-shot explosive. It actually worked great. 1 shot was enough to take out the crystals. So then it was just a matter of don't be impatient. You know, once you can take out this guy. And so far, we're doing okay. We're hitting every crystal in his stage. Now, as a ghoul, I find this area really frustrating, because a couple of hits and my glow is gone. And if I was using a keyboard, it would be okay. I use a controller. I'm on PC, but I use a controller. So spamming goo isn't really, it's not super easy. So what I do is just don't worry about it. I just go without glue on the without glue. Without goo, sometimes it feels like there's glue, but yeah, I go without goo. And I just use stim packs and just worry about my, my normal health, and to keep myself alive. That's the biggest thing, is just all the area of effect here. And this part right here was me just being confused and not really, I wanted it to go another way, but my teammates had it under control, and I was just kind of out of it. But yeah, Lex takes, he takes one for the team there. And then, Pip is just, yeah, he was a trooper. But this blunderbuss, or is it a blunderbuss or a pistol? Now I don't remember, but whatever it is, I mean, same thing either way. But 2-shot explosive worked actually really well. In that case, took no damage for whatever reason. Sometimes that happens. But yeah, this actually worked really well at destroying the crystals. And I think we get rid of him right in this area. We take out the big crystal. That took a couple of, it took like 2 or 3 shots. We took him out. That was most of his health. I mainly wanted to get him out of the way, because once he's out of the way, then the slow fire rate doesn't really become much of an issue. And then it's just a matter of patience, waiting for everything else to gather. And I think we got him. Yep, we got him right there. And so once we have him down, once he's out of the picture, then the rest of it is just a little bit of a waiting game, and we'll fast forward a bit. So at this point, it seems like we've got pretty much most of the monsters all in one spot. So we just need to get, yeah, it looks like we've got everything in spot. So this is where we want to just take out the, I've taken enough abuse at this point. So yeah, let's just take that out. And that'll take care of most of the creatures. I think we're down to a couple of death claws and one other thing. And the next big crystal is enough to take them out. So we got 2, yeah, it's a cricket and 2 death claws, and this is enough. And this stage, this went smoother. I thought this would actually be probably kind of a pain, and I wasn't even sure if we'd be able to do it the first time, but it actually went really smoothly, a lot smoother than I expected. And then it's on to the snake. So for this last, for the snake, we are using the black powder rifle. That's the best choice of what I have. And at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm thinking we've made it through all the stages so far. We haven't had to repeat anything. We've had a casualty or 2 along the way. So I'm thinking we're going to do this whole thing without having to without having to start anything over. My strategy here, now I'm doing a crit like every third shot or so. So my strategy was to use the face or the head to build up crits, and then when I had a crit, do the eye. Because trying to build up, using concentrated fire with something that starts, fires this slowly, just isn't a very sound, it's not gonna work. So yeah, I'm using the high hit chance on the head, build up a crit, and then use a critical hit on the eye. But things do not go as planned as far as this goes. He does his breath attack. I do not have I lost track of where I was there. I lost my footing. And I don't have a jetpack. So if you have nothing to jump on, being able to jump doesn't really matter. So that was just me. And that usually, I don't usually die that way. I mean, I'm pretty good at surviving just in general in the raids. But when I go down, it's usually poison because I'm not paying attention to my health. It's almost never that I'm not paying attention, that I lose track of my footing. But that's what happened. And the Jeep went down to, I think, poison or something. And at this point, they're both asking... Oh, actually, when I went down, my team was actually asking, hey, do you want to us to suicide so we can start over? And I'm like, no, if we can finish this as a team, if the team can do it, let's finish this all in one try. Unfortunately, things are not going very well. So we've got Pip. He's got the Ultrasight Terror. We're down to like a quarter because Lex is down as well. So it's looking like Pip is just going to have to carry us to the finish line all by himself, and yeah, that didn't go very well. So we're gonna have to give this another go. So now we are up for round 2, and no waiting for me. If everyone's here, we're gonna run forward and go. And this time my main focus was, well, I mean, it's always on my health, just, as a ghoul, and I'm not wearing power armor either. If you're not wearing power armor on this stage, you have to pay a lot more attention to your health. But for me, I wanted to make sure I knew where I was. And all of these limb damage weapons seem to be crippling the snake quite a bit, because he was dipping his head down on more than one occasion. So these weapons are actually these are actually really good weapons. I mean, if everyone's sitting there with quad and you don't have to reload after every hit, then we have the tail and the combined firepower of the team just takes it out. Ooh, there was a close call for me. Almost bit the dust there. I didn't really want to go down twice in a row, but we've got the Terror's health down to about a half at this point, and you can see the big damage numbers. We got 2 regular shots and a critical hit on that one. So yeah, right around 2,000, 9,000, just depends. So I'm getting good numbers, and I know based on what other people were saying that some of them were actually getting bigger numbers than I was getting. So nothing I was doing was spectacular. Normally I use Blight Soup. And what do I use? Blight Soup as my buff for my damage, and it wore off like 10 minutes into the raid, and I didn't realize until later that I just forgot about it. I never refreshed it. So for most of the raid, I was running unbuffed in terms of any kind of damage, at least for food. I'm just, whatever the weapon is doing is what I was doing. But you can see we've lost a little bit of the island, but everyone is still alive, which is the most important part. And the Terror is about ready to go down right here. And I got the timing on my reload was actually pretty good. I happened to be reloading as he was coming down for his final big breath. But yeah, we got it done. It took us, 2 attempts on this, but overall we were able to manage the entire raid using nothing but black powder weapons. And there you have it, the black powder raid. It actually went a lot smoother than I expected it to. I thought some stages would take a bit longer. I thought the drill stage, I thought the Enclave Soldier stage, I thought that might be a little more difficult. And I really thought the Crystal Room would be more of a struggle than it actually ended up being. By the time we got to the snake, I was really hoping that we could just get through every single stage without having to repeat anything. But unfortunately, weren't able to do it, but we were able to defeat the snake on the second attempt. So yeah, once again, thank you to my team. That was a lot of fun. Hopefully you all enjoyed watching the video. If you did, please hit one of the buttons, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.